The last time that I wrote was the last time that I vlogged. And the last time that I vlogged was the last time that I wrote. It's kind of this cyclical thing that I've come across. When I am writing, I am in it. I am enjoying it. I am excited about the progress that I'm making. I'm having story developments. I'm thinking about my book. But right now I'm only writing on camera. I'm not necessarily solving that with this video. What I'm essentially doing is using that kind of to see, because I think we do a lot of tracking as writers, you know, an hour a day. I'm going to write 50,000 words this month. I'm going to finish this draft of my book in the next 2 weeks. Like, we make a lot of, I'm going to finish this by goals. And I've never really kept track of how long it really takes me to get to those points. And I think we make a lot of decisions not really understanding the amount of time it's going to take. I always say that one of the things I'm very bad at is estimating the amount of time it's going to take me to do something. I think I'm going to vlog until I get to 50 hours of writing. But I have this revision that I'm trying to get through, and I'd like to get through it by the middle of July. Because I want to get it to beta readers, and all of my beta readers who I have right now are in college, so I kind of want them to be able to do it not while they're in school. And so I really just need to get my like words in, and I need to be doing it every day, and I need to be consistent if I want to make that goal. And if I don't make the goal, it's really not the end of the world. It truly is not. This is the quickest I've ever gone through this type of process. Right now it is June 21st, and I'd actually really like to be done with this by like July 15th. But I'm gonna see if I can get 50 hours in 25 days. Oh my gosh. I have this camera, let's do it. Okay, so we're about 10 hours in, and I think it's been exactly a week, but I've written anywhere between 1 to 2 hours a day. And I think it's a good starting point. I would like to cut in half the amount of time it took me to get those first 10 hours. So I'd like to be updating you again in like 3 days. Is that realistic for me to write 10 hours in the next 3 days? I have gotten through a large chunk of Act 2. Act 2 is just a beast, and it always is. And the chapters are just a lot longer. And I don't know if this is a problem or not. Like, my early chapters were around like 1,500 to 2,000 words. But it might be something that I do need to flesh out more. But I think I'm a kind of a chronic overwriter though, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not chronic. Maybe I just overwrote one book and now I underwrite everything else. You know, we won't know until we know. And it's just making me sad. Not the writing, but what's happening. Because I mean, it's Act 2 is where everything is just like kind of like slowly crumbling, you know? In Act 3, everything like really falls apart, but it's more a fun way. Like Act 2 is just sad, but in a good way. Like I'm really happy with the scenes. I always struggle with scenes that take place in a lot of locations, or if like, let's say I need to be in one chapter, like I don't need to spend a whole scene in each of these places, but I need to cover like stuff in a coffee shop and also at a workplace and also at home. And all of this needs to happen within the same chapter because I don't need to dedicate too much time to each of them. Like transitioning, those kind of like montage-y chapters where a lot of things are happening. There's a lot, like not a lot, but more of those in Act 2. And to transition from locations, that's always something that I've just struggled with, is like figuring out where the heck we're going. Like I don't want to jolt the reader, but I also don't want to spend too much time being like, I walked to my car thinking about what I had just talked about, even though the reader just read what, you know? Bye. And there was a moment where I was like, what if I could do it before July 1st? But this is just the part that I don't like to do. But that's okay, because not every part of it's gonna be fun, apparently. The effort that I will go through to not write is truly inspiring. Like, the things I have accomplished in avoidance of writing, I have played so much chess. Like, I have increased my online chess rating by 150 points in a day. That is how committed I am to not writing the scene, but we're gonna change that. Oh, okay, it's about 10 hours later. Why did I think I could write 10 hours in 3 days? Specifically those 3 days, I was like going to stay with my family, my entire family, for multiple days. Why did I think I would be able to write 10 hours in that amount of time? But yes, it's now Sunday. I literally did everything I could possibly do yesterday in avoidance of writing. I did end up writing for like an hour and a half, I think, which on a normal day, on a normal time, I'd be like, absolutely slay, like an hour of writing, way to go, that's all we need to do. It is currently, oh my gosh, it is July 9th. And I know I said July 14th, and I think I can still do it. Okay, we just need to do it now. Okay, no more excuse, we're done. We're just gonna do it, okay? You hear me? We're doing it. We're doing it. Stop looking at me like that, we're doing it. Morning. It is July 13th. If you recall, the deadline is tomorrow, and I'm 100% gonna hit it. That was really confident. That was a really confident statement, but I'm in my third act. The third act is all, at this point, one big scene, and I had originally plotted it out with the whole 5-act finale. But I'm already about a third of the way through it, and it just goes quicker because there's a lot happening. And also, I tend to write like more emotional, more action scenes better the first time because I'm able to get into my best writing is when I'm not thinking about it, which, does that make sense? Like, the raw stuff is better when I'm not thinking. Don't know if that's actually true though. This is the thing about writing, is it's so subjective. Like, yes, I've had people read my stuff before and I've objectively gotten good feedback, but like, who knows if it's even good? But I feel the best about it. And I think everything within the plot is really tight in this part. There's one little section I'm a little worried about. I have a playlist on Spotify that I rarely use. It's called Out of Time. It's like, once the shit has hit the fan in a book, like, this is the playlist that like matches the vibe of like, okay, we're in it, you know? And you're not really in that for all that long usually, because that's not where I have spent most of my time in this draft. And there was a screamo song in there and it really took me out. I was like, good morning. It went from like a deep emotional ballad to like screamo, and it actually just like, the vibes were there. But also I'm just getting so stressed because everything, I have this character that's just so icky and I hate him, but like, he does the job, but like, oh, I read the dialogue and I'm like, I don't like that you said that, but I also like that you said that. just a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings. Everything's kind of culminating. I still don't know how to feel about my act 2, but I think I've gotten it to where I got it. And so I think having somebody to talk through it with will help me before I do a bunch of work. This is really a good way to talk yourself out of doing work. I also just creamed a guy in chess. Like, oh my gosh, he was like 4 points ahead and I snuck in there. I had a battery. So I had 2 like bishops at the top, but his queen was closing in on my king, so I had to act fast. So I had 2 bishops like blocking the top, and then I brought my queen up and he didn't even see it coming. I wish I could see his face. Like I could feel how smug he was. Anyway, I've also been going on walks at 6 a.m. and like, am I 70 years old? Today's the day, everybody. It is July 14th, which is the arbitrary goal date that I set for myself. And as of, I think 27 minutes ago, I did finish the book, which seems like maybe I should be more excited about that. But there's always this feeling when you finish a draft where it's like the only thing you can think about is all the things that are wrong with it. I'm just recalling back to the early days of this channel, which was like 4 months ago. It was not that long ago when I was finishing my first draft, which is actually how most of you got here. So thank you for watching that video and coming along this journey. But I just remember I wrote that whole last act in like 2 weeks and mostly in that one last day. And I got to that point and I was like, oh yeah, I did write all of this in one day, and I can kind of tell. I really walk this line because I know I'm an overwriter, but my concern is always that I haven't added enough detail. And also when you're writing in thriller romance, I read a lot in that genre. There are things where it's like, obviously that wouldn't happen in real life. Like we're not expecting that that would happen in real life. And I think that that's oftentimes the things that I get caught up on. I'm like, okay, well, I probably need to talk about what the police are doing right now. I probably need to talk about what, like the logistics of how this would actually happen in the real criminal justice system. And like, it probably wouldn't make sense that she would do this thing because it wouldn't happen that way. And I'm like, yes. And I have done that research, but at a certain point, it's like, you also have to give the story what it needs. And my rule of thumb is if like Criminal Minds can get away with it, I can get away with it. And I know that probably isn't the right mindset, but I also know that that's not what I should be spending page space on, because that's not what, it's not a detective thriller. The imposter syndrome is hitting hard. I'm like, what have I been spending the last 2 months doing? Anyway, that's besides the point. I don't think it took quite 50 hours. I think it was probably more like 35, which is fine. I'm fine to not write another 15 hours. That's okay with me. But I am happy with how consistently I was writing. Time is crazy. That's all I have to say. What did I learn in this process? Sometimes you just gotta get the camera out to make yourself write. And by the end, you'll notice I wasn't recording every hour. And I think that's kind of where I wanted to get to, was to just be consistent without the camera. Anyway, the other thing that I learned was that I have horrible posture. Truly, truly horrible posture. I finished it. Did I neglect everything else?